Um, and yeah, other thing this week was uh, I tweeted it out, but for a long time I've talked about my favorite manga, Vagabond. It is fucking work of art is an infinite understatement. It is a story of Miyamoto Musashi, and basically it covers like his life and his journey from being a child to growing up into the legend, so to speak, and how like that's not obviously as glamorous as it might sound, but it's really
Mm-hmm.
just a Zen story that focuses a lot on um, interesting like concepts in Buddhist philosophy, and like overall just like it's way more peaceful than any violent ass samurai story deserves to be. It's
Mm-hmm.
fucking it's great. And
I I have I don't the only thing I know about Vagabond is you basically talking it up and how great it is. Um,
I don't
but
talk
I'm
about it
kind of
often.
loath. Yeah, but you have in the past, and I
I have.
remember each time
Mm-hmm.
that you have, it's
Mm-hmm.
been like very like high praise.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of loath to get into it. What with situations like the Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
So, does it end well?
So this is what I'm the story is about, right? Because for the longest while, it was on hiatus, and we got 37 books in to the journey, and um, you could see that like from book one, the Takahiko Inoue has been putting like his fucking soul onto the page. Like I know you hate that type of talk, but like you
No, not necessarily. I
you
get it.
you open up some of these pages where you're the dude's just standing in a forest, and I've described it where every blade of grass, every blade of grass has a division and a texture to show you the little streaks on the blade of grass. Every bark of tree has a pattern and texture on it, individualized to make up the full root. Um,
Mhm.
Nothing is unlabored, and it goes a long way to conveying beauty in nature when they want you to fucking feel that. When they want you to feel something where like the world is more important than whatever these characters are doing, he's a master of that, right? And oftentimes like the words that the characters are exchanging will be understated, muted. Sometimes there'll be like no words for a while. It's just a very like, it's a vibe of a manga. So it was on hiatus for a while, basically, as of like I want to say it was 2015 is where it kind of stopped, and we weren't getting new books anymore. Um, so even then, before that, he took previous breaks from it, but he did keep working on another series called Real, which is a basketball manga, um, which he's
That's
very
kind of a
passionate about.
that's kind of a jump. Okay.
He's always been passionate about it, it's been there. Well, anyway, there have been hints and clues over the years as to what was happening and why, but we never quite got a final confirmation. But excuse me. But this last month, finally, we have some answers and some closure. So,
Mhm.
in 2008, when he first kind of hit this initial hiatus point, there was a vernissage, there was like an exhibition called The Last, and it included lots of never before seen artwork that he had, and there was a chapter that was basically Vagabond, the epilogue, the end of the story. And this could theoretically be the wherever the journey goes, we this is where it would end. It never got released outside of that exhibition. It was only there, and the story, he continued to make new chapters after that, but eventually hit that point again where he took a break, and um, now we finally got scans of this final epilogue and a message explaining what happened and why he stopped.
So what happened?
Well, I mean, his words explain it the best, but effectively, the summary I can give you is that he kind of hit a point where, like, when the story is beautiful, it's like I said, it's unbelievable. He pours everything into it, and when it's violent, it's the same thing. It is crazy how brutal it gets at times, and he effectively was hitting a point where he was trying to make a message about like beauty and things, but he's a very sensitive person, and like working on it and like going down like some of the darker paths that it has to like go through was actually like hurting him and causing him stress and anxiety. And on top of that, he puts everything into every page. As I mentioned, the last couple books were like way more detailed than the ones he did earlier in his career. You could see that. So he kind of started to feel like that, just kind of like the depictions of like of murder were like starting to really get to him, you know? And the story is one that requires these characters to build up to a legendary fight that, you know, creates this legend that we know. And you could see the parts where the story starts taking a turn away from like a lot of the glory of the violence, because it's basically just showing you how like shit it is to kind of like be the best swordsman in a way. And he goes through this like kind of these mental like changes and these revelations, but historically it still has to go back to this dark place. And it sounds like he tried to stop and figure it out and then come back to it, but then the second time he just couldn't bring himself to come back to it, you know? It affected him that heavily. And the epilogue we get explains that, and then the characters and then the actual chapter itself is just a beautiful send-off to everything that happened along the way, and it's finally some closure to the story. It serves as a kind of like a fast forward through time, you know, to the end of the journey of some of the characters that we've seen, and you get a feeling of like really warm closure from reading it. And if I had access to this story back when this first, you know, was happening, it wouldn't have hurt as much because because none of us knew what was going on. But now that I've read this, I feel okay to let it go, close the book, and just be like, and that's Vagabond. And the reasons he gives for stepping away from it are super personal and respectable. And like, yeah, man, you took us on a really great journey. Thank you so much for what you've done. And I'm okay to let it go, you know?
I'm a little confused as to why, if this is such a piece of closure, why when this exhibition came out, he didn't just tell everyone what the reason was.
Yeah,
why like you're treating this like it's a hidden like a piece of archaeology, like, look, we found the reason. It's like, why didn't you just fucking hop on Twitter and just tell people?
So we don't know, but I have a guess. My guess is that, because remember, after this came out, he continued working on it. My guess is that he didn't want to stop, but he went after that, because like basically that thing came out, he took another hiatus, and then he returned to it again and then stopped again. So I feel as if he made that but didn't want to go, this is the final marker, for sure. He just kind of wanted to put down on paper what he was feeling, and then if he could get back to it, then he would, but then in the end he couldn't, you know? So it's a way of kind of like putting down where he was at the time. And then he kind of, you know, and he does say, he's like, I'm not sure. He's like, I'm learning things about myself as I go here, you know? So like, I think it was just, this is what he's feeling at the moment. He's gonna try, but we know how the future plays out looking back on it. And if the future played out differently and he didn't end up stopping again indefinitely, then we wouldn't be looking at this that specially, you know? It would just have been a little like omake some years back. But now it's
a
not.
complicated situation, and I'm talking all the way on the outside. I'm not, and obviously I can see people talking in the chat. I don't necessarily mean Twitter. I could mean the magazine he's writing for or a newspaper, whatever. I just mean public statement. I just say Twitter because you could just do it in 2 seconds. It's complicated because I'm not gonna sit here and say that, well, because he started it, he's got to finish it or else burn him, right? He's not Grimm. It hasn't been, what is it, fucking 40 years or whatever the fuck it is for Game of Thrones, and there hasn't been live footage of this gentleman not writing his manga for decades, right? Grimm is a whole different fucking game of
Thrones.
I felt it, and I can absolutely. I can't personally empathize, but I can sympathize with if you're writing like from the heart, I guess it would be, and you are putting it all out there, and it's going into topics that are like essentially damaging you. Why you would want to stop, or why it would be best for you to stop. But one of the things that I'm more confused about is not necessarily talking about like why wouldn't he make this even pseudo public, or even like not necessarily right away, but later or earlier than now. Not just because of like a vague responsibility to the audience, because that's, I mean, you could go for or against that, but because he was working on something else with the total lack, like say prior to you finding out about this exhibition, it was just a big fat question mark, right?
It was a big fat question mark, but he had hinted at like anxiety being an issue.
Okay. Because without any details, if the writer of My Favorite Thing just immediately stopped writing My Favorite Thing and started writing something completely different, no problem, I'd be furious.
He didn't stop.
Like I might
he'd been doing real the whole time. They were simultaneous. The difference was just this.
Okay.
He didn't switch over to it. They were both going.
But okay, that makes it probably easier. But I legitimately wonder. I understand this is a pseudo like internal struggle, but I wonder if it would. I don't know how fans. I don't know how Japanese manga fans on social media act. I imagine they act about as appropriately as social media fans of anything out here. I can only imagine it might have been legitimately easier for his mental well-being to just come out straight with it than deal with the fucking brigade of, you motherfucker, why you write the basketball and not the Vagabond.
First of all, fortunately, due to the subject matter of Vagabond, people that are fans of it tend to be a little more chill, I get the impression, because I haven't seen anger or hatred directed towards him over this. I've seen confusion.
How's your Japanese?
Yeah, that's the thing. I can't speak for the other side of the world. I can only speak for the English-speaking fans. But it has not been the level that, you know, we see from other mangaka going on hiatus when things get bad, fortunately. But it's a chill story, so maybe people are a bit more chill about it. But beyond that, though,
the Hunter x Hunter hiatuses are weird because like it's always tinged with like hurry up and finish it versus, well, but don't die also, because if you die, you won't finish it.
You see, that's the thing too, is it's not a chill, it's not a shonen series in a way, right? It's not like a Shonen Jump fucking thing out there. It's like it's this other thing. But I think the answer to all the questions as to like, hey, why wasn't you could have, the things could have been more straightforward, why weren't they, is ultimately the question. And I think the answer is, again, just because he was working it out. I think he just didn't know himself. And, you know, we got updates when there were updates. And this, looking back on it, was like almost a like, this might be it. Maybe. and then he continued working through it, and now we can say, yeah, that was it. He didn't know at the time, he was thinking maybe, but now we can look back and go, yeah, that was it. You know,
I have an idea.
and it helps that it's a good ass epilogue. If it wasn't, then it would be, a lot harder to.
Does it still feel like there's like a massive time like skip, or does it feel like it could actually be like that was an ending that was?
Oh no, there's a massive skip. There's definitely a massive skip.
I have an idea that will make everyone happy. No more stories that take more than 2 years to write.
Yeah, there you go.
Your story has to end so that if you get tired,
yeah,
you can just bang it out, or what have you.
I mean, honestly, like, dude, there's nothing. There's like this. This is a journey that, like, seeing the other side of it, seeing the reasons why. Like, I hold no ill will, frustration, malice about how we got here and why. Just getting that closure feels good, and like I feel no reason to like look back on this and go, damn, dude, you should have done this differently. Because I also think, and this is the key to me at least, I think that the same passions and like attributes that allow him to make this as good as it is are also what make him so sensitive to the work.
Mm-hmm.
It goes hand in hand. The quality we got came from the same thing that's making it so hard for him to continue right now.
That makes sense. I want to point something out. I'm seeing like 100 people go, Pat, shut the fuck up. You play Final Fantasy 14. That's an MMO, and that's been around forever. Nuh-uh. Every part of Final Fantasy 14 story is a self-enclosed narrative that takes exactly 2 years, and it's where I came up with the number that I just said. And bonus, the game that came out prior, which was FF11, has a definitive ending, which was quite rare for ongoing, still being produced MMOs. So fuck off, everyone. I win.
So
I win.
if you're a fan of Vagabond and you've been waiting, go to mangadex.org and check out Vagabond the Final. And you can also just Google Vagabond the Final, and it'll be the top link. And it'll just be, the epilogue chapter. And you'll know it's the right one because the cover is a picture of the main character with some age on him. And if you've been through this series, take a moment, sit down, grab a drink and just chill. Turn your music off and just fucking vibe. Just get back right into the mentality of Vagabond and like finish it off. Say goodbye to the story. It's a great one.
I have a question. Question for you. This might sound absurd, but this is a real question. If say this epilogue didn't happen and your choice was literally nothing, or the author going, you know what, that shit was very stressful. I'm trying to turn over a new, emotional place in my life. Here's the new epilogue. And the epilogue is everybody just starts to do it. And it's a super graphic, like Dojin. And he's like, that's the end. That's how I always meant for the story to end. Would you prefer that or nothing?
So Sword Art Online?
I don't know, but I actually don't know. Is that what ends? Is that how that goes?
I thought something like something glops. I don't know.
That's a different thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh my god, totally how Sausage Party ends. I just realized that.
There you go.